In the United States, we do not directly elect our president, but our president is chosen by an electoral college, and in practice that electoral college is chosen from the people. Therefore, it's important to understand how this electoral college is elected and how it functions. The electoral college is made up of electors from every state, and there are also 3 electors from the District of Columbia, which is not a state. Now, for the 50 states, each state is given a certain number of electors, and it varies from state to state. It's not exactly based on population size, but population certainly has an impact. Every state has 2 senators and also has a certain number of representatives. Now, regardless of population size, every state has its 2 senators. But the number of representatives in the House is based on population size, so that's the population part of it. Now, getting over to the Electoral College, Congress has no direct say over the Electoral College. Congress in no way impacts the Electoral College. However, we do use the number of representatives in Congress to determine the number of electors that every state will receive. I'm going to use my native state of Florida as an example. Florida has 2 senators because every state has 2 senators. Florida has 27 representatives because of our population size. The result is we have 29 people altogether representing us in Congress. Therefore, we have 29 electors to the Electoral College. Now, these electors, like I said, do not answer to Congress at all. They answer to the state legislature and ultimately to the people of Florida. So the way it works in Florida, as it does in 48 of our 50 states, we in Florida will vote for president, but we're not really voting for president. In 2012, we would have voted, of course, either for Obama or Mitt Romney or possibly one of the third-party candidates like Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, etc. Well, in Florida, slightly more than half of the state of Florida voted for Barack Obama. Now, those who voted for Obama, who checked that little box next to Obama's name, they weren't actually voting directly for Obama. They were voting for 29 electors who said they would vote for Obama. Those who voted for Mitt Romney voted for 29 electors who said they would vote for Mitt Romney. And in the state of Florida, it's winner takes all. So Obama did not have to win 100% of Florida's popular vote to get 100% of our 29 electoral votes. He only had to win the largest number. Now, Obama did win the majority in 2012 in Florida, but he didn't even necessarily have to win the majority. If you go back in time to 1992, for example, we had a 3-way presidential race between George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, and Ross Perot. Now, some of you are going to say, well, it was more than 3-way because there were a bunch of other candidates, but I mean it was a 3-way race between people who actually stood a chance. Well, in that 3-way race, 18% I know went to Ross Perot, a little bit more went to Bill Clinton, and George Bush Sr. got the largest portion of Florida's popular vote, but it was only about 41%. Because it was the largest portion, however, George Bush Sr. got all of our electoral votes, even though he didn't even get a majority of Florida's popular vote. So every state except for Maine and Nebraska used this system. So when candidates are running for president, they're thinking about those electoral votes. And they're looking at states thinking, how do I get up to the number I need to win? Now currently, to become president, you need 270 or more electoral votes. Obama, I know, got well over 300 in this last election, even though in the national popular vote, he did beat Romney in that also, but it wasn't by very much. It was only about a percentage point. The Electoral College almost always coincides with the popular vote. And there are a few examples of it not, but usually it does. Now, some of you are asking, if we vote for these electors, and they then vote, what's to guarantee they'll vote the way they're supposed to vote? Well, this varies from state to state. But I can tell you that faithless electors, those who go against their state's popular vote, are extremely rare, and never in the history of the Electoral College has a faithless elector actually swung an election. So in conclusion, all states except Maine and Nebraska, it's winner takes all. They get their number of electoral votes based on the representation in Congress. Therefore, a very, very small state will have a minimum of 3, because every state has 2 senators no matter what, and every state will have to have at least 1 representative in the House. So there are many states that have only 3 electoral votes. But if a state has a very large population, like California for example, they will have their 2 senators like everyone, and then California, I believe, has 53 representatives in the House, so they get a total of 55 electoral votes. So to become president, you need a majority, 270. If by chance no one gets a majority, it goes to the House of